This is a tribute to Benjamin Banneker, a bicentennial tribute, 200-year tribute to Benjamin Banneker. Benjamin Banneker, who was he? We can go over a list of his accomplishments. Firstly, Benjamin Banneker, he was born in 1731 in the 18th century, and he passed in 1806.
Good morning, and welcome to another Minority Counterpoint program. This is Gwen Blackburn, your hostess. One of the topics that we don't really give much thought to and have not had a program on is the buildings that are being constructed all along the highways and in the various cities and towns, wherever there is vacant land. It seems that buildings are being constructed. You just say, oh, another building going up, or I wonder what's going up there. Well, there's more to think about than just that. And it's who are the people who are designing and constructing the building. Are any of the designers people of color? And of course, when I think about the Gulf Coast region and this devastation there, I wonder who's working toward redesigning, especially that well-known 9th Ward that we keep hearing about. Well, I heard from a man who is planning to bring attention to the question that I've raised. Joseph Edgecombe is, and he will straighten me out, he is a architectural designer, I believe, and is registered in Washington. He's going to tell us about his plans for a Black Architecture Week, because he in fact feels, and I'm sure it is true, that there is a need for such exposure. So this morning, Joseph is in the studio with me, and I welcome you to Minority Counterpoint. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning.
And let us begin by having you talk about how you came up with the idea of having an architecture week. You're calling it cultural architectural power. Interesting. Tell me what shape that this would take.
The Black African American community is a very creatively talented resource that the different cities, states, towns of the country has as an asset and as a resource. So in order to corral and promote more people in this field to get more exposure, as well as the young people coming up in the field, I feel that there needs to be some time set aside within the year that people celebrate the amount of people and power that they have within that particular industry.
And what would it look like? I mean, would they say a Black Architectural Week? Would this mean that perhaps there would be an area, a building, or something where all of the designs, I guess you call them designs or sketches or whatever, might be exhibited for people to see what Black architectures are capable of doing? I mean, would be part of what Black Architecture Week would be?
Yeah, that would help show some of the aspirations and whatnot that are coming out of the Black and minority architectural community. Also, things can be connected and included, which could be Boston City School programs, kids in high school getting ready to launch their academic and professional careers, and other junior high school children that want to be involved because they're the most creative. So it could be broader based than just certain professionals exhibiting their works, and
Okay.
It would include everybody.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I mean, to get young people in school involved while they're still in school, and they can begin their training and know what that you need to do to become an architect. Now,
Mm-hmm.
and the question, Joseph, are there many black architects? And for those that there are, why aren't they being recognized?
Throughout the country, there's a few prominent architectural firms or professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in most major cities, there are one or two firms that have sort of become successful.
That few, just one or two?
Yeah.
In a city, wow.
Just one or two.
Yeah.
The percentage of African American architects is less than 1% that are registered with the Washington D.C. based organization. Where the architectural community gets most of their resources from.
Wow. Now, well, there are two questions. I said, why are they not being recognized? But I think a question that might be even more important is, why aren't there more blacks going into the architecture field?
Well, firstly, there's more than just if you're in the business. There's more than the one or two architects that are taken in as tokenism or token architects that the local white architectural organization tends to recognize and promote. Maybe one or two companies or one or two black architects.
And he's going to share with us information about the interior and I think it's fair to say exterior of that building. And then you can ask him questions. I know some of you have to go, so maybe we can keep this down to an hour with perhaps 30 minutes for the presentation part and 30 minutes for Q&A. That might work out for all of us. Okay? And I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and I hope your questions will be answered so I won't have to answer anymore. How's that? And we have some other people here from the university. Nancy, tell them what you do.
I'm a construction manager within the facilities department. I've been at the university for going on 10 years. I started at Egan Center, Shilman Hall, Caracas, West Village, ABCDEFG.
So we can blame her for West Village development, she said. And then we have alumna.
Project engineer within the construction management team.
And she used to go here, so you can also ask her other questions. And we have.
I'm David Magnolia, Flavor Officer from the architects.
For the big. And they've done some other things around here. And of course, this is Mr. Lee and his assistant, Natasha. And I'll turn it over to them now. Carry on.
Well, you just need a second.
Okay.
Professional life. I don't know how many of you were at any of the meetings we had last year when we talked about this project. But we actually, our firm got started on this thing in 1970. We did the first Afro Center, the one that we're in right now. And it served many generations of students. And there are still people that come up to me today that say that having this facility helped make their experience at Northeastern a better one. So when this was first done, this area was literally Fort Apache the Bronx. I mean, there was no campus out here. The Orange Line wasn't complete. Many of these buildings were in industrial use, although the university was picking them up. They actually redid one of the buildings there with a little peak on it for, I think it was the arts facility. I don't know if they still have studios in there. At one point they did. So this area really was on the edge of the campus at the time. I guess about 5 years ago or thereabouts, William Braun's firm, which is the firm that we're associated with on this project, did a master plan for the university. And it included the West Campus and all the development that you see occurring on this side. What became apparent was that this building, although it had great historic value and meant a lot to people, was sort of out of place with all the new construction that was going on. Now it happens that I knew John O'Brien, and John had two agendas. The first was to make sure that you guys got through school and graduated. And then, of course, to create and maintain a place where you could spend time and exchange, have intellectual exchanges, research, all the kinds of things that go on in this building. I do not think that 30 years later, Natasha, we may have it right, that some 30 years later, John would have anticipated that we would still be in a former laundry building. Something needed to be done with the Afro Center. And some of you who've been around long enough know that in a big rainstorm, for example, the Raw Center has a tendency to flood, although that's been addressed in the last few years with some new utility work. When we did this, that space back there with the kind of big double doors used to be an elevator. And what we did was we used that as a shaft for the mechanical equipment. So there's no elevator in the building. As you well know, the stairs are very narrow, no meet code. And it is a tank of a building. This thing is really, really very strong. So the issue became, do you keep this building and spend a lot of money rehabbing it and probably have to compromise some of the programs that you guys would like to see in it? Or would it make more sense to construct a new building? Now, the thing that I think most people wanted, but it wasn't a practical solution, was that this would be a single building standing on its own. But the way the campus was evolving, what came to pass was that it could be a component of what is called a mixed-use building. By mixed use, it means exactly that. There are several different kinds of activities that might go on in the same building. So, as opposed to where you might have just a dormitory or just a classroom building, in this case, the overall plan will include three major components. There will be an academic component of classrooms and administration. There will be an honors dorm, and there will be the John D. O'Brien African American Institute. Now, what we said at the time was that we thought it would be possible to design this building in such a way that the Afro Institute would have a distinct identity. We don't want people to get off the Russell Street station or something else and try to figure out where it is. It should say something. On the other hand, as an architect, it's important that the whole building work. And Bill Ron and I are friends from a long time, and we knew that we could work together to try and develop something that would solve the Afro Center's needs and at the same time work within the overall party or scheme for the rest of the building. So, we have been working now since, I guess, last spring or summer to develop the whole building. And as you see, this is the Sir Hall right here. I'm going to move it. This is Centennial Common right there. And then this is the new sort of main axis of the university. And this is the new building F, which is going to have all of these components that I talked about. So, as I said, some of these are going to be dorm rooms, some of these are going to be classrooms, and there's going to be some academic stuff. This area right here is the area that's given over to the Afro Center. It's about 20,000 square feet. Is that right? 15,000 square feet. But much more efficiently organized than the 15,000 square feet that you have here. So instead of having to make compromises because that happened to be where the bathrooms were, because that happened to be where the long span was, like where the Brawl Center is. What we did was we worked with Dean Petty and a number of others to try to make sure that all the kinds of functions that the center serves would be accommodated in the new building and in an optimum configuration. Now, one of the things that was important, and I think works really well in this building, is that it not be separated purely into an academic component or into an administrative component. All of the uses are fairly well commingled. One of the things that was important, though, was to figure out a way to close off the building at certain portions of the day in order to wanted to have, and it just would be a compromised building. And what was better would be to go ahead and build a new building. Now, you need to understand, the way the new building is designed, it will be constructed before this building is taken down. You guys are already used to having things get built around you, but that's what the proposal is. So, if you look here, right in that spot there, you guys, I think you can see it. I'll point out that. That's where the existing Afro Center sits. In fact, this isn't the right size, but, and there will be a little bit of a lawn out there, okay? And then this is Missouri. And it's important to see Missouri in this situation because that has affected the presentation.
There's many more professionals working in residential areas, in helping small business make improvements, and other things that have to do with community and city planning.
Okay.
So there's more than the one that seems to dominate and sort of neglects the other black architects that are out there trying to make it just as well.
So are most of the black architects then involved, part of or working for white firms, those that are there, and is it difficult to get into the field?
Yes, well, it's difficult to get into it, and then it's difficult to maintain in the field because of the disparity between the amount of whites and the amount of blacks that are in the field, and the preference that the white students and the white architects get. And the problem is it's an international business field.
Oh, really?
So there's the architect for the World Trade Center in
New York
was he's the Japanese.
Mm.
And the new World Trade Center building is a German architect who was selected for the designer on that one. So, and also even the Museum of Fine Arts, there's a British architect that they're pulling in on the improvements on the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Before building is started, I guess the first step, and I don't know anything about architecture, but I would assume that the first step is to you have to make a sketch or a drawing of your plan. Is that the way it works? I mean, and so people can go to seek out an architect to do the drawing for them, a contractor or something?
Yeah, on a residential basis and on a community development basis. In order to do things by code and regulation, any kind of improvements on your business, small business, medium, large business, everything has to be done according to your building code. And professional architects, they know most of these codes by the back of their hand. So that it's the best way to stop any kind of problem with the city or any type of things that has to do with that, because the buildings are inspected and all improvements are inspected by the city. So as a way to alleviate any problems with the city or the state, you have to go to an architect, and they take care of all the necessary requirements for any work being done, whether it's a new building or whether it's a renovation.
And are you suggesting then that there aren't very many blacks or people of color or whatever that get a piece of this pie?
Yeah, because while the needs of the urban environment are extensive, So the problem is the institutions of architecture and design are not facilitating enough of a rally and a way to channel more blacks and minorities into the field, so we can take care of our urban environment from an architectural perspective. The way the design profession works is it's selective and preferential many times in education towards the white architect, or towards the also there's a problem with the international people that are coming from overseas that often have a deep accent or something, and they don't even really know about the complications of the country itself, and they're getting preference as well because it's a classism-based profession.
So are you suggesting then that the people who are coming from other countries, who are coming here, that because they are from other countries, that they have a preference, people have a preference over
yeah, what it is there are other countries that just minority people, just like everybody else. There could be China, Latino countries, South America, or Spain, European countries. But these cultures have a talented base, culture and talented artistic base. And they have a very progressive base getting involved in the architecture and design field. That's why there's so many people in that field. But also what America has to realize is that the domestic economy itself, within the economy itself of the American economy, is that the black and Hispanic youth that are coming up are also just as creative, talented as any other foreign culture that's there.
Right.
So they have to promote within themselves in order to help out and help alleviate the urban problems of our urban environment in the dense areas and the populated areas where you need improvement in housing, renovation of different areas, and address of urban blight and various things like that. In conclusion, as a tribute to Benjamin Banneker, we see that his effort was to uplift the black race at that time through his experiences, because of his the freedom that he had that other people didn't have at the time. But this was continued by several historical figures in the history of the country. Benjamin Banneker was present during the 18th century, and during the 19th century we see figures such as Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. But we also see figures such as William Lloyd Garrison, who was a Caucasian white male, and then in the 19th century we see our civil rights leaders, and as well we see other leaders such as Shirley Chisholm, who also ran for president in 1972. And then if we bring ourselves up to modern times, we see that we have many architects and planners, such as community planners. We have Michael Washington, he's an outstanding architect. David Lee of the Sterling Lee Company. They're outstanding architects, and they all contribute to the development of the country, just as Banneker did. In this way, Banneker pioneered many things that we're still fighting through today for acceptance in most white-dominated professions. So this is the importance of Benjamin Banneker and the efforts also of William Lloyd Garrison during the anti-slavery movement, and Shirley Chisholm in her run for presidency.